Shishya Madhav Bhagwan ki. So we study from Srila Prabhupada, your ever well-wisher, the abridged version of Srila Prabhupada's Lilamrit by His Holiness Satswarup. We read from family business. So we read from family business, not from Prabhupada, your ever well-wisher. And this is chapter 4, chapter entitled Press On. And not sure, but I will start maybe from here. On June 21, 1970, Srila Prabhupada, senior Sanskrit editor Pradyumna Das passed on an order, just conveyed to him by His Divine Grace, to editing teammate Jayadvaita Das by way of this memo. Prabhupada said that if there is one mistake in one book, then you spoil the whole book. Murder the whole book. Actually, we read it previously, but if you don't mind, maybe I can continue. So also besides Sanskrit errors, there have been many English errors also, which are very obvious, just like these two above mentioned errors. So Prabhupada has been emphasizing lately about the great need for making our books free from errors. What's done been done, but now we should try to do make sure that errors like this won't occur again, and start a listing of past mistakes in each book so that we can correct them when they are reprinted. Concerning these two Sanskrit errors, one was not noted down before the new reprint was made. I think there should be a blueprint made of each book before it goes to press, because then the editors will know for sure that there weren't any errors made in layout or that something fell off. From that time on, under Srila Prabhupada's guidance, Pradyumna collected errors reported by the devotees and kept them in a book for correcting in future editions. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki. We continue studying Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 7, Chapter 5, and today's text is text 12. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. So 7.5.12 chapter entitled Prahlad, the saintly son of Hiranyakashipu. स यदानुव्रतपुंसाम् पशुबुद्धिर्विधीयते अन्य एष तथान्योऽहम् इति भेदगता सती. स यदानुव्रतपुंसान् पशुबुद्धिर्विधीयते अन्य एष तथान्योऽहम् इति भेदगता सती. स यदानुव्रतपुंसाम् पशुबुद्धिर्विधीयते अन्य एष तथान्योऽहम् इति भेदगता सती स यदानुव्रतपुंसाम् पशुबुद्धिर्विविद्यते अन्य एषा तथान्योऽहम् इति भेदगता सती. So, that Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yada, when, anuvrata, favorable or pleased, pumsam, of the conditioned souls, pashu buddhi, the animalistic conception of I am the Supreme and everyone is God. Life. Vividyate is destroyed. Anya, another. Esha, this. Tatha, as well as. Anya, another. Aham, I. Iti, thus. Veda, distinction. Gata, having. Asati, which is disastrous. Translation purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with the living entity because of his devotional service, one becomes a Pandita and does not make distinctions between enemies, friends, and himself. Intelligently, he then every one of us is an eternal servant of God, and therefore we are not different from one another. Purport. When Prahlad Maharaj's teachers and demoniac father asked him how his intelligence had been polluted, Prahlad Maharaj said, as far as I am concerned, my intelligence has not been polluted. Rather, by the grace of my spiritual master and by the grace of my Lord Krishna, I have now learned that no one is my enemy and no one is my friend. We are all actually eternal servants of Krishna, but under the influence of the external energy, we think that we are separately situated from the Supreme Personality of Godhead as friends and enemies of one another. This mistaken idea has now been corrected, and therefore, unlike ordinary human beings, I no longer think that I am God and that others are my friends and enemies. Now I am rightly thinking that everyone is an eternal servant of God, and our duty is to serve the Supreme Master. For then we shall stand on the platform of oneness and as servants. Demons think of everyone as a friend or enemy, but Vaishnavas say that since everyone is a servant of the Lord, everyone is on the same platform. Therefore, a Vaishnava treats other living entities neither as friends nor as enemies, but instead tries to spread Krishna consciousness, teaching everyone that we are all one as servants of the Supreme Lord, but are uselessly wasting our valuable lives by creating nations, communities, and other groups of friends and enemies. Everyone should come to the platform of Krishna consciousness and thus feel oneness as a servant of the Lord. Although there are 8.4 million species of life, a Vaishnava feels this oneness. The Ishopanishad advises Ekatvam Anupashyata. A devotee should see the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be situated in everyone's heart and should also see every living entity as an eternal servant of the Lord. This vision is called Ekatvam, oneness. Although there is a relationship of master and servant, both master and servant are one because of their spiritual identity. This is also Ekatvam. Thus, the conception of Ekatvam for the Vaishnava is different from that of Mayavadi. The purport is a bit long, so maybe we'll take a pause here and hopefully we can try to understand the purport in paragraphs. वैराग्य विद्या निज भक्ति योगा शिक्षार्थमेक पुरुष पुराना श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य शरीर धारी कृपां बुद्धिर्यतमहं प्रपद्ये मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतानं वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna, thank you for joining us in the morning program in Srimad Bhagavatam class at Karuna Bhavan, ISKCON, Scotland. And pray for the blessings of the assembled Vaishnavas. Of course, pray for the blessings of Srila Prabhupada, of Sri Guru Maharaj, that we understand Bhagavatam in the light of Srimad Bhagavatam. We take it as it is, and as it is meaning, as the mode Mahaprabhu wants us to take. For us, because it is not like Kali Yuga or any other thing. For us, our life should be all dedicated, centered, revolving under Mahaprabhu's guidance, teachings, and all to please Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to understand the mood and the mission of Mahaprabhu, to understand the desire and bridge in ourselves under that desire. So, with some hope, desire, prayer, somewhat hankering, longing, we try to study Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna consciousness is a process of practicing spiritual life for sure, but it is not just practicing like for the sake of fulfilling rounds. I've done my duties, sort of done all the rounds. I woke up early, Mangal Aarti and all. It is a practice or a art of loving love, or learning love, how to love. Love is such a black phenomena, an experience, an emotion, which actually cannot be described, and one should not try to put it into words. It can never be expressed in words. It can never be described, but it can be relished. It can definitely be relished. It can definitely be something to experience. And that experience cannot be put into words or some thoughts. And how do we relish love? When we relish love, when we see the love between Krishna and his sweet loving devotees. When we see the love between the sweet loving divine couple. For personally speaking, or maybe I feel for a sadhaka, 2 times of the day is very crucial. Night time before going to bed, na? Because again, this is all a process of building a mood, building a bhav. So before going to bed is a very crucial time, and perhaps I may say, I think for every one of us, before going to bed, there's less communication, perhaps there's less like to things to do, things to look, things to watch for, say. And it's evening time, day is coming to a close, we also wind down. And at that time, we can read, no? We can read very nicely before going to bed. So prepare our mood before going to bed, and waking up also, if time permits, time allows, if we can read for 15-20 minutes before coming to the morning program. And japa, it is a building a mood. Uh, attentiveness is one, yes, becoming attentive or doing attentive japa. But it is not an imposition of the mind, Krishna consciousness. It is not to impose or train my mind in a way that, I should be alert, I should be attentive. And the natural, we are after developing a natural hankering, a natural taste, a natural mood, and which will come about when we actually hear the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. Furthermore, like Chaitanya Chaitamrita, or when we hear the message of the divine couple, the relationship between the two, the love between the two, the dialogue they have between each other. No? We are after that love, and this is something uh, we should be holding close to our heart, close to our chest, while going to bed, while waking up as well. No? Something very close to our heart, very sacred, very pure. Love is like pure beyond definition, beyond description, sacred beyond definition, beyond description, sweet, sublime. That sort of love, and this is what like Prahlad Maharaj is experiencing for his spiritual master, and he's seeing the glory of his spiritual master, the beauty of his spiritual master, the futility of this material world. Mm. This Prahlad Maharaj is experiencing. We can relish Srimad Bhagavatam the most in each pastime when we study, when we put ourselves in the shoes of, say, Prahlad Maharaj, the experiences and the things he has been going through and what will come about. Fascinating what will come about actually. As we say, na, Bhagavad Gita can be relished superlatively when we can understand the emotion of Arjuna, the pain of Arjuna, the heart of Arjuna. And that is our position. That is where we belong. Na? That is our constitutional position. Arjuna is playing a role for us, for us only. And if we are not able to sink in with the heart of Arjuna, we may not really cherish, we may not really relish the dialogue Krishna and Arjuna had. Likewise, when we put in ourselves, we see the heart of Dhruva Maharaj, what went through when we put ourselves in his shoes and all, and how he performed devotional service. Ambarish Maharaj for that matter, Gajendra for that matter. And if we see like Dhruva Maharaj, if in very nutshell, what is say in very nutshell, what is Krishna consciousness? How can we understand Arjuna? He was in crisis. He was in deep crisis. The first chapter, he was pouring his heart out. He was sharing his crisis. He was sharing his problem. He was in deep crisis, and what happened? Revealed his heart to Krishna. Then Krishna spoke. Arjuna listened. There was a dialogue. Arjuna was churning. Arjuna was taking everything in the heart. Arjuna took it literally. How? Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Korya. Literally in that sense. Krishna was speaking, Arjuna was all taking in the heart, not in the head as such. Although for us, the way to heart is through the head, fine, but at least it should reach the heart. Na? See, Vedi Bhakti is rules, regulations oriented, which is okay getting into the head. Do you get this in your head? Discipline, punctuality, no laziness. Do you get it in your head? But the bhakti we are performing is raga. The nature of bhakti, the nature of Krishna bhakti is raganuga bhakti only. It's rag oriented bhakti, which is a subject matter of the heart itself. So we take it in the heart. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitite Koriya Kya. How Arjuna took it. So Dhruva Maharaj, how he took the words of Suniti and Suruchi in his heart, and Narad Muni appeared in his life later on, and how he took his words. And in nutshell, if we see Dhruva, he was offended by his father or by his stepmom. He was neglected. He was not cared for, not validated, not looked after, loved, or was not included. So there was some crisis in Dhruva's life, fine. And then to overcome the crisis, he was told a solution. What is the solution? The solution is go in the forest and chant, meditate. And this was given to him to begin with by his stepmom, his own mother, and then Srila Narad Muni, spiritual master, initiated him into the 16 syllable Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya mantra. And Dhruva Maharaj meditated and chanted. And what happened? He got darshan of Narayan. We were reading in this morning from Namamrita, Swamin Kritartosmi. Dhruva Maharaj, he saw face to face Lord Narayan and he was says, I was so pleased. I'm so pleased. The goal of my life I have attained now. And similar thing, Ambarish Maharaj, Gajendra's life is in crisis. He prays, and what happens? He ascends to the spiritual world. And we'll see furthermore, Prahlad Maharaj, his life is in crisis, what he will do and what he will attain. But the thing is, Prahlad Maharaj is an eternal associate of the Lord. He's a Nitya Parshad. Associate means Parshad. He's a companion of the Lord. Wherever the Lord goes, he follows, and he he's included in those pastimes. It's not like he's playing a role. uh, Playing a role meaning, okay, there could be a duplicit thing, right? That maybe Arjuna was playing a role just to teach us, but in reality he's someone else. This is how I think I understand the cinema industry works, right? Okay, Mr. Hero and Miss Heroine, they are playing a role. And when the director says action, they play the role. And when the director says cut, okay, they are into their normal real life. But no, Arjuna and all playing a role in the sense, yes, Arjuna appeared to be conditioned, acting like a conditioned living entity, but he was not at all. Dhruva Maharaj, however, Prahlad Maharaj, however, throughout the pastime, we don't see him playing a role in that sense, like appearing like a conditioned living entity. So, anyways, maybe I should stick more to the translation purpose. So fine. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is pleased with the living entity because of his devotional service, one becomes a Pandita and does not make distinctions between enemies, friends, and himself. Hopefully, such a day come in our lives as well. Hopefully. At least this can be our prayer, this can be our meditation now. And this is all prasad for us. This is all leftover remnants for us to meditate, contemplate, desire, hanker, and cry and relish and want to have. And the entrance in all of this is through bhav only, by developing a mood, by developing a bhav. The entrance in all of this is becoming humble. Hmm? The kingdom of heaven is open for one who is meek and humble. So by becoming humble, and there has to be a desire. If we don't desire, we will never attain Krishna. Maybe at this point, can I ask a question, please? This is just for me to frame my mind and see, not wanting or expecting a direct response, but something. See, what do we say? Prabhupada used to say, oh, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. No? Chant Hare Krishna and be happy. So, what is the purpose of our chanting and purpose of our practicing Krishna consciousness? Is it to be happy? To develop a relationship with Krishna. So chant Hare Krishna and be happy, or it is correct, chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And yes, the purpose of our practicing Krishna consciousness is to develop a relationship with Krishna. Very nice. Chant Hare Krishna and make Radha Krishna happy. We will become happy only when we make Radha Krishna happy. And it is not that they are unhappy. It is not that the divine couple are unhappy or they're lacking or missing anything. No, nothing. Rather, they are having all the fun. Rather, they are having all. They are in an eternal picnic. They are in a never-ending dream. They are living the dream of their life. That is Krishna consciousness. That is spirituality. Na? Live the dream of your life. They are living an eternal dream. They are living the dream of their life. And when we genuinely understand the mood and mission of Mahaprabhu, na, the teachings, the udgar, the expression of love, the bhav of Mahaprabhu, we will be left with only one thing: cry. We will be left helpless. We will be very like a fish. Na? When fish is taken out of water, what happens to the fish? It's like crying for life. Like when we read Chaitanya Charitamrita, see the life and the expression of Mahaprabhu, and furthermore writings and teachings, we'll be left with just crying. So chant Hare Krishna and be happy. And chant Hare Krishna and make Radha Krishna happy. So one thing is we practice spiritual life to become happy. As meditation, it will make you happy. Chanting will make you happy. Chant and be happy. Hmm. Now, this is one proposal, and it's a big motivation for us to perform Krishna consciousness. It is a big motivation for us to perform Krishna consciousness that yes, I become happy out of it. And another is what like where would Shishikharanta Mayapur Sashi ki this thought chant Hare Krishna and be happy is certainly very inclusive, very attracting, very appealing. And if we say, okay, chant Hare Krishna and experience what Prahlad experienced, wow, we'll be frightened what comes about. But eventually we have to come to this, we have to come to a no complaint zone altogether eventually, and hopefully soon. Hopefully soon. So hopefully one day we also experience this that does not make distinction between enemies, friends, and himself. And that is the stage from where one can actually perform devotional service. Na? Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma na Sochati na Kankshati. I should be a bit conscious of time as well. Okay. We'll continue with the purport. Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad Maharaj how he had become antagonistic to his family. When a family member is killed by an enemy, all the members of the family would naturally be inimical to the murderer. But Hiranyakashipu saw that Prahlad had become friendly with the murderer. Therefore, he asked, who has created this kind of intelligence in you? Have you so like become friendly with the murderer? Hiranyakashipu is saying to Prahlad, murderer as in Hiranyakashipu, we all know. Hiranyakashipu's elder brother Hiranyaksh was killed by Lord Vishnu, and it was worldwide known that he was in a fit, he was in a mood to take revenge for the killing of his brother. And now Hiranyakashipu, the father, is wondering how come you, my son, you belong to this family, and how come you have sided with the enemy? Since you are a small boy, someone must have induced you to think this way. Prahlad Maharaj wanted to reply that an attitude favorable toward Vishnu can develop only when the Lord is favorable. Wow. Prahlad Maharaj wanted to reply that an attitude favorable toward Vishnu can develop only when the Lord is favorable. Sa yadanu vrata. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is the friend of everyone. Suridam sarva bhutanam. Shantim Suridam sarva bhutanam gyatva mam shantim rachiti. The Lord is never an enemy to any of the millions of living entities, but is always a friend to everyone. This is true understanding. If one thinks that the Lord is an enemy, his intelligence is Pashu Buddhi, the intelligence of an animal. He falsely thinks I am different from my enemy and my enemy is different from me. The enemy has done this, and therefore my duty is to kill him. This misconception is described in this verse as Bheda Gata Sati. The actual fact is that everyone is a servant of the Lord, as confirmed in Chaitanya Chaitamrit by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivere Swarup Hoy Krishna Nityadas. As servants of the Lord, we are one and there can be no questions of enmity or friendship. If one actually understands that every one of us is a servant of the Lord, where is the question of enemy or friend? Everyone should be friendly for the service of the Lord. Everyone should praise another service to the Lord and not be proud of his own service. Could we request Leela Manjari, would you be okay to read the purport a bit?
But in the Vaikuntha planets, the service of another servant is appreciated, not condemned. This is Vaikuntha competition. There is no question of enmity between servants. Everyone should be allowed to render service to the Lord to the best of his ability, and everyone should appreciate the service of others. Such are the activities of Vaikuntha. Since everyone is a servant, everyone is on the same platform and is allowed to serve the Lord according to his ability, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15:15. Sarvasya Chaham Hirdi Sanni Vishto Mata Shmitir Janam Apohanam Cha. The Lord is situated in everyone's heart, giving dictation according to the attitude of the servant. However, the Lord gives different dictation to the non-devotees and devotees. The non-devotees challenge the authority of the Supreme Lord, and therefore the Lord dictates in such a way that the non-devotees forget the Lord's service, life after life, and are punished by the laws of nature. But when a devotee very sincerely wants to render service to the Lord dictates in a different way. As the Lord says in Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Tasham satata yuktanam bhajantam priti purvam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam apyantite. To those who are constantly devoted and worship me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Everyone is actually a servant, not an enemy or friend, and everyone is working under different directions from the Lord, who directs each living entity according to his mentality.
Thank you. Any questions or comments or any clarification? The verse is beautiful. The translation in purport is tremendously beautiful. Thank you for tolerating and kindly excuse my lack of knowledge. I have one question though. What is the difference between separate and different? Yes. The difference between separate and different. So Leela Manjari says separate is the same, but it's just away from that thing, and different is different altogether. Yeah, true. Any other thoughts? difference between separate and different. This this one thought, I think uh, it can help me a lot in my practice of Krishna consciousness. How should I see? Yeah, this is the question. So you must be wondering, but there's another question. How should I see other living entities as separate or as different? How should I see my parents? How should I see my brother, sister? How should I see like uh, anyone else, like living in the community, outside the community, people at work, friends, family members, and all? And when we say like separate and different, of course, it is in relation with Krishna consciously speaking. So, yeah, separate as you say, like that. Okay, uh, someone separate, it's essentially from the same source, but separate, but far off, say away physically, like that. And different is like different altogether, different nature altogether. So how should I see every other living entity, or my parents, family members, friends, school, uni? Should I see them even in community as separate or different? Second, neither. How should I see them then? If neither, then how should I see them? Yeah, spot on. That is the consciousness we want to develop, that we don't see them nor separate as such, or nor different. Or different, yes, different, perhaps, yes, different, just a different style, just a different mood, just a different personality. But he or she is not separate. He or she is not separate from Krishna. It's like they are as Krishna conscious, they are as belonging by nature in the original Swarup as I am. But some conflict in relationships comes about, like generally speaking, say a bit of this husband-wife or partner relationships. Na? There's some terminologies, na? Marriage, some categories, na? Married, single, what? Divorced is one, and another, some, what they call, separated, living separately or separated. Why? Because you are separate from me, or you have a separate thought process, separate agenda, separate thinking, uh, separate interest. So this separation is not good to have in the consciousness. But yeah, just a different person. So if say husband and wife not getting on well, it's not like okay, separate. But yeah, it's just a different view, different way of seeing into things. It will all begin first. How do I see myself? So before seeing others as separate or different, how do I see myself? Do I see myself as separate from Krishna or as belonging to Krishna? The the way I see myself, the way I value myself, that is the way I will see each and everyone else and value them. This is what Prahlad Maharaj is experiencing, and he will be doing so. He is not seeing himself as any different from Krishna in the sense we see in this purport in oneness. in the qualitativeness, in the desire and the interest. It is Krishna's desire to be ever happy. Krishna is, of course, ever happy. And it is Krishna's desire that we as well, everyone be ever happy. Every living entity, everyone and everything be ever happy, properly situated, rightly situated. And that is what Prahlad Maharaj is desire as well and doing. So he's fully convinced he's living Krishna conscious life actually. He's living by this consciousness. And because he's living by this consciousness, so he's seeing everyone also in this consciousness. So he's not carrying a separate or a vision or any like that. No. If at all, okay, he's a different person with a different personality, but equally belonging to Krishna, equally dear to Krishna, hasn't yet realized his potential. But that doesn't mean that he's not Krishna conscious in that sense. Deep down, every one of us are pure spirit soul, proper Krishna conscious. Uh, there's that Vedic saying, na Atmavan manyate jagat. Uh, the way I see myself, that is the way I see the world as well. If I know something, how come you don't know? You should also be knowing. Oh, this is tough, something tough for me. It must be tough for you as well. Uh, the reality in this world, what we perceive, what we see, is the reality I am carrying within myself. Prahlad Maharaj had a different reality within himself. He was not bound up by this duality, by this nature, and by the dual standards of this world. So he was very pure in his consciousness, complete oneness he was carrying. Uh, so, and he was seeing the world in that light, he was seeing the world in that mood, as everyone is Krishna conscious. And he was preaching from that point, he was living from that point, carrying pure humility, no adamancy, complete humility. So, Atmavan Manyate Jagat, like how we think and act, we all have our own, carry our little bubble of universe, right? Our own understanding of right and wrong. This is how it should be and all. And actually, we live in this material world. What to say, material world? We live in this society now. What to say, this universe? What to say, this planet? We live in a very closed society, yes, and we with a closed view as well. And we have our limitations, and we should be following some etiquette, definitely. Uh, it's not like, okay, then we completely make ourselves living in an open society, as in my consciousness is very open. I do not discriminate, I do not differentiate and all. So I love everyone and everything is free, everyone is free. No, there has to be some protocol, there has to be some etiquette, there has to be some ways of working. And Krishna demonstrated this actually. After the war was over, after the uh, Mahabharat war was over, Krishna, he also cried. Uh, he also cried seeing all these friends, relatives, and all passing away. When others' family members were crying, Krishna also cried. But that is like to show that living in society, we should not, we should care for some bit of societal norms, etiquettes, rules, ways of dealing and all. And it is to purify only us, further purify us, not to make us more hard-hearted. And ultimately, the ultimate purpose of all etiquette and everything is what? That it should be pleasing to the Lord. It should please the Lord. It should, whatever we do, it should bring a smile on the divine couple, right? That should be the, at least the desire, that whatever I'm thinking, acting, desiring, it pleases Guru Maharaj. It pleases the divine couple. And how do we know it is pleasing Guru Maharaj? How do we know it is pleasing the divine couple, pleasing the Lordship? Is when we take shelter of the scriptures, when we take shelter of saintly personalities and come under their direction and guidance, uh, and assess ourselves and follow and see how hard, if our heart is becoming soft, how soft our heart is becoming, or is it becoming very hard? Okay, maybe another pause if there is any questions or comments or any clarifications. So we aspire practicing Krishna consciousness, we desire. It is not a practice in theory. The translation and purports are there. And Jivere Swarup Hoy Krishna Nityada, so many shlokas we might be knowing and quoting and could be doing everything very spot on, punctual in Mangalarti and everything. Mm, But it is all to make our hearts soft, uh, to genuinely cry, to genuinely desire to attain Lord. When I sit down doing the part, do I sit down with this mood that yes, Radha Krishna in the japa, I'm going to see you. I desire to see you. What mood do I sit down to do japa? Or watching the clock, maybe that okay, I've got good 1 hour, I can crack this many rounds. Then the day will be very free and open. Ye yatha mam prapadyante tam stateva bhajamiyam. Krishna says, no, as you surrender. Surrender also has many different meanings or connotations in the sense what mood, the mood you approach me in, the mood you want me in, the mood your relationship you have with me, accordingly I'm available. So what is our understanding of japa? What is our understanding of Mahamantra? And especially those blessed into doing Gayatri Mantra japa. Wow, such powerful Vaishnav Diksha, those who have been enrolled into. And what do we understand and what do we do it? Uh, are we limiting ourselves or opening up ourselves more? So depends on the mood. And Prahlad Maharaj carried the proper mood throughout. He was not living a separatist mentality. And when we take shelter, Prahlad Maharaj, Srimad Bhagavatam, the teachings, and predominantly we have only one shelter to take. We cannot afford to take shelter of Prahlad Maharaj. Okay, we are studying Prahlad Maharaj pastime, we take shelter of Prahlad Maharaj. We study Dhruva Maharaj pastime, okay, no. This month I have to take shelter of Dhruva Maharaj. Why Dhruva Maharaj pastime is going on? Now Kapila Dev, Devahuti, oh, I should be taking shelter of Kapila Dev. I should be taking shelter of this. For us, we have only one shelter to take. Krishna says, na ma mekam sharanam vraja. Shelter can be taken of one only actually. Shelter can never be taken of multifold. Or we take shelter of multifold, that is not pure Krishna consciousness. We won't attain Krishna by that. Shelter is only of one. We have only one shelter to take. We cannot take multiple shelters. Like listening to Prahlad Maharaj, oh, I take shelter of Prahlad Maharaj. It becomes very fascinating, very excited. Prahlad Maharaj, yeah, Prahlad Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj, Dhruva Maharaj. Festival comes, yes, take full shelter of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It was his divine disappearance day a few days ago. We take shelter. Today we pray to Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj. Next day. So this ultimately we have to take one shelter, and that shelter is shelter of divine spiritual master, Shila Gurudev. That shelter has to become our eternal shelter. From that shelter only we can find all other shelters. All other shelters. And if we ignore the shelter of Srila Gurudev, or not ignore also say different levels. If we ignore, then we are doomed. If we don't ignore, we respect, but simultaneously we take different shelters, more shelters. Of even of transcendental personality, Krishna does not like that. Okay, on this note, let us take shelter of Prasadam. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम महापुराण की, श्रील प्रभुपाद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदी. Thank you for your kind cooperation and encouragement and your tremendous tolerance. श्रीमद् भागवत की जय.